Welcome to the Daily Tokyo Hockey Show on the FIH YouTube channel with me, Sarah Juggins. It has been an absolute cracker of a day at the Oi Hockey Stadium as the men's competition came to its exciting culmination, ending with perhaps one of the finest hockey matches certainly I've had the privilege to watch in recent times. We have a new Olympic champion in the shape of Belgium, new hockey heroes and some great memories of the men's hockey tournament here in Tokyo. To talk about the day's action and to offer an oversight of the men's competition, I'm joined by three experts from the international hockey world. Davy Hart is Ireland's superstar goalkeeper, and he captained Ireland at the 2016 Rio Olympics and the 2018 World Cup. He was voted FIH Goalkeeper of the Year in 2015 and 2016 and led Ireland to bronze at the 2015 Euro Hockey Championships. So welcome to the show again, Davy.
Hi, Sarah. Hello, everyone.
Great to see you. Also returning to offer his wisdom and analysis is another goalkeeper, although these days Cedric D'Souza is more likely to be coaching goalkeepers than donning the pads. Cedric played for India before taking up the mantle of head coach to the India team, twice. He also coached Greece and is now head coach to the successful Austrian under-18 men's team. Hi again, Cedric.
Hi, Sarah. Good to be back.
Great to see you again. And our third guest is the FIH Director of Sport and Development, John Wyatt. As a former international with England and Great Britain, John brings a wealth of on-field experience, but he's also able to analyse this tournament from an organisational dimension as well. So we'll hear from John later how he feels the event has gone and how hockey has presented itself to the world. Hi, John.
Hi, Sarah.
Great to see you. But mostly today is all about two outstanding games of hockey to decide the medal destinations. In the opening match for bronze, India thrilled us with their free running and astonishing stick skills as they ended a 41-year wait for a medal. Then the final offered us a spectacle of the two best teams in the world going toe-to-toe in an absolute thriller. It ended 1-1 at the end of full time, and a shootout was needed to separate the sides. It was at this point goalkeeper Vincent Van Asch proved why he's been twice voted Goalkeeper of the Year, as he pulled off 3 saves and then repeated one of those saves after a rerun was awarded. The Belgian team exploded with delight, and Shane McLeod collapsed in a flood of emotional tears. We'll return to that match in a moment. But first, Cedric, let's go back to this morning. What are your thoughts on the bronze medal match and particularly the performance by India?
Well, it wasn't for the faint-hearted. A fantastic day for Indian hockey. A humdinger of a match had all the viewers at the edge of their seats. And, the score was 5-4 in India's favor. But for me today, it was all about being able to handle pressure. We know India knows how to go up front to attack, but they played a solid defense today, and where Sreejesh was completely outstanding. We say defense wins games. Yes, they definitely do, and it showed today. The PC charge outs were absolutely brilliant, and Sreejesh was actually a rock, and I think Davy will definitely second me on that one. The key moments for me basically were coming back from a 3-1 down and coming back into the match. We can talk about that a bit later, but for me, the most important thing, it was a combination of attack and defense, which stood India good in this entire match.
Yeah, fantastic. Davy, how did you rate the German performance today?
I thought overall it was consistent with how they actually had been playing throughout the tournament. I thought that they were scoring goals for fun, which you saw, as Cedric just alluded to, going 3-1 up and looking really solid. I thought to myself, this could kick on to maybe 4-1, 5-1. But again, coming back to it, obviously a 5-4 loss, but typical German fashion, going down the far end and having a penalty corner with 2 minutes to go, and then again with 6.8 seconds on the clock, earning themselves another PC, another opportunity to take it to a shootout. I just thought, yeah, this is going to happen again. I saw it happen at the European Championships during the summer, and now again during these Olympic Games. They'll go home very disappointed, of course. They had here a huge opportunity and high hopes and aspirations for going away with a medal, and they just came also close, but unfortunately just came up short on the performance today.
Yeah, exactly that. Cedric, we spoke about sort of India standing strong and coming back, and that's a change for the Indian team's psyche, isn't it? A little bit this sort of belief in themselves almost. It's something that we've spoken about in previous shows. There seems to be far more belief and also far more patience in what they're doing.
Well, I think if you look at the way this whole team has progressed over the last couple of years, the effort put in by all and sundry in terms of the coaching staff, the scientific backup, the exposure that they've had, the continuous camps that they had even during COVID has helped this team a lot. Okay, Graham Reid has done a fantastic job without taking anything away from him. But the most important thing for me is he's brought in about the fitness The set plays, the pressure on the ball, and for me, the belief that they can beat anybody in the world. That's the first way of looking at it. And the second way for me was the fact that the defensive structure has become solid, which was never one of the strong points of Indian hockey. To take that into the German dressing room, I would say they were kind of shoddy today, because if you look at the goals they conceded, there was ball watching, there was not clearing the lines quick enough. The first way running of the penalty corner didn't close out the goalkeeper's glove side. This was not something that you see from the German team. You're seeing it from the Indian team, which is something really to take forward.
Yeah, I mean, because Germany actually had 13 penalty corners and only scored once, whereas India had 6 and scored twice. So, there's that switch around as well. John, you were obviously there. You were pitchside or in the stadium. Could you feel in the game that momentum swinging from Germany to India? And can you sort of identify a couple of points in that match where you felt the pendulum of power was moving?
Yeah, I mean, Davey's already mentioned it. There was a point at 3-1 that it felt very comfortable for Germany, and it felt like they were certainly in control. But then, as Cedric has said, there's a steeliness about this Indian team that is a new, I'd say, element that they've brought over the last few years. And to come back from 3-1 down, and it was 40 degrees heat in terms of on the pitch. It was absolutely roastingly hot, and to come back and score 4 goals in a row against a team who weren't maybe playing as well as a German team you would expect them to, but they're still a high quality team with fantastic players, and to put 4 past them and to get to 5-3 in the lead. I mean, obviously there was a huge momentum shift. I have to say, it felt like Germany were more disappointed to be in the bronze medal match than India did. It felt like India really felt like they had a chance to win a medal, and that would be an incredible achievement, which it was. There was definitely a sense from Germany, from sort of almost the moment they arrived and when they were warming up, that they'd really come here to be in the gold medal match. And I think that disappointment, I mean, fair play to them, as Davey said, they managed to fashion a couple of chances, get back to within a goal, and then nearly had a chance to score right at the very end. So in true German style, I was sat with a couple of Dutch people, and they said, "Don't write this off. Don't write it. They've seen it too many times before," and it was almost like watching Germany against New Zealand in Rio, and they scored 2 goals in the last 30 seconds. So we knew it was always going to go right down to the very end. But I'm delighted for the Indian team and the players, and Graham Ree's done a brilliant job with them. And you only had to jump onto social media and see the Indian cricket team and some of their comments of congratulations to the hockey team. People like Sachin Tendulkar, the Prime Minister. I mean, it's just huge for India. And from our point of view in the International Federation, to have 3 medalists from 3 different continents is fantastic for the growth of the game.
Yeah, I mean, one of the commentators on the match said that he thought PR Sreejesh would now take on iconic status in India, similar to that of the top cricketers. Davey, can you put in context Sreejesh's contribution to the team over the course of this tournament? Because, as Cedric said, he has been an absolute rock for that team, hasn't he?
I would start first, Sarah, by probably saying his contribution to hockey before this tournament and what he's done for hockey over the last decade with India. He's taken on that kind of mantle of being the Great Wall of India, as his nickname is often so used across social media channels and so on. The bitter disappointment of Rio. I think I saw something again, the power of social media, that he tweeted a sorry to fans after Rio, how they disappointed them and let them down. And then to see that smile now that he said today that he was able to pull off that save with 6 seconds to go and to ultimately win the bronze medal for his team, for his nation. Well, Sreejesh, as we all know, such a gentleman, such a great character, such a joker at times as well. But you see how much ultimately, when it comes down to it, what it means to those players to win. The tears of joy on the pitch, the passion that's just expressed. And you can't put it into words probably what they're feeling right now, because as John just said, they're going home and they're, it's the backing of over 1 billion people in their nation and the pride. And I can see Cedric even here smiling, because it's massive for them. And from where they've come from, and Sreejesh has been an integral part of that. So he has.
Yeah,
taken 41 years to get a medal, and it's been a huge weight. And Sreejesh, for me today, 9 out of 13 shots at him at goal were saved by him. And that just tells you, Davey, how strong he was the wall. He was actually the wall they right through, you know. And
definitely, he never had it easy this tournament. You know, as a goalkeeper, to pick yourself up after a 7-1 hammering at the hands of Australia, that can be so difficult, and it goes in roller coasters. And for a goalkeeper, it's often said that you use the kind of simple expression of never having your highs too high or your lows too low. Now, ultimately, he can have his highs as high as he wants after the bronze medal game, because you're done and you've done what you need to do. But that takes a lot of guts and a lot of a character to come back and do so. And I think he showed that again today, how he has that in abundance.
Cedric and Davey in particular, you're both very well placed, I think, to answer my next question, which is, how do you discover and develop and nurture a talent such as Sreejesh or any of the others on the pitch in India? Is it through schools? Is it through clubs? Is it through camps? You know, how do you pick up a youngster at the age of 9, 10, 11 and actually help them develop? And I'll come on then to the impact of the Hockey League on this particular bunch of players as well. But Cedric, if you could start off, you know, how do they develop the talent?
Well, I think the first thing is, you know, you're in different regions around India. India is a huge country, so a lot of players get into their little state organizations and they start playing out there. And normally they're picked up by an academy, especially in the north, where there's the nurture of hockey, the nursery of hockey. Sorry, and the most important thing is that the kids are then put into kind of a schedule with the academies. They're given a lot of training and they're given a lot of matches within themselves. So they have quite a big player base. And that's the first thing. And from there, you're actually picked up by either an organization which takes you on a job basis, or you get into the Indian training camps when scouts pick you up in terms of the national coach and the coaches of the respective teams at different levels. Once they come into the national camps, they're actually there for long periods of time. If you look at this Indian team, they probably were in camps for 2/3 of the year, at least. You know, they have long camps, non-stop camps. For the European, probably would be boring, and they can't do it because of the job situation. But in India, it's a different scenario. So from that aspect, the youngsters are then put into the national camps. They're trained on a continuous basis, and with the amount of tournaments that are played in the country. So the organizations play small tournaments all around the country. So that's the time they get picked up and seen again, and they're getting match experience.
Wow. So it's very. I was just wondering how at the very, very start of their, I hate the word journey, but at the start of their international journey, you know, do you have scouts going around? They see some kids playing maybe cricket or football or something like that, but they think, wow, great balance, great coordination. Let's try and get these kids into our sport. Does it happen like that? Is it as dreamlike as that almost?
I think a lot of it is the fact that the respective national coaches have friends around the circuit, around the country. Right. Yeah. And then they just communicate with each other and they find somebody. And then the national coach probably will look at him at one of the tournaments and see that they can pull him into the camps. That's how it is normally done. Yeah. Look, I've been out of India for a long time too.
Davey and Cedric, you've both been very involved in the Hockey India League. That has had to have had an impact on this current crop of players and the way that they're playing their matches. So if I come to Davey first on that one.
Without a shadow of a doubt, what the Hockey India League provided for those Indian players was a platform to prove how good they were to the world, not just to themselves. They were able to rub shoulders with some of the best players in the world and show that they were at times equal, if not better. And not only it helped them from a mental side of things, knowing that they no longer had these star players on a pedestal. They just realized that they're just, you know, human like ourselves. And it just increased their awareness of what they needed to do. Cedric just recently touched on the physical side of things, and that was an area where India needed to make great strides to keep up with the likes of Australia, Belgium, those kind of teams who are really putting a lot of time, effort, and finances towards the strength and conditioning aspect of the game. And that's where India, you could see, John mentioned there was 40 degrees on the pitch today, just how they were able to come through all the way through the end at the very end of this tournament as well. And I think the Hockey India League, again, provided not only the players the platform, like I mentioned, but the belief that they can do it. And then ultimately that has culminated now at the end for a bronze medal at the Olympic Games. I played with some of those players well, he would have been younger when I was over there, young Harmanpreet Singh, and you see him scoring a massive goal from today with the drag from the penalty corner. I played against other players throughout the Hockey India League as well, and all of them you would have to ask, and they would probably definitely say that they would agree that it did absolutely wonders for the game in the country as well.
Yeah, I mean, as a coach, Cedric, you must have seen players develop from the minute that league started until now when they're playing on the biggest stage of all.
I think, when you look at the configuration of the teams in the Hockey India League, where you had a certain amount, a larger base of Indian players and less players from abroad, the youngsters got an opportunity to actually eradicate the fear psychosis.
Yeah.
That was the key issue, because you had this fear about, oh, the big guys are coming and I don't know. And suddenly you're playing with them. As Davey said, you're rubbing shoulders with them. You're in the same room with them. You're playing with them. You're eating dinner with them, lunch with them. So you suddenly don't have this, in awe. You're equal to them, if, as Davey said, not better. So you can see it from that aspect. There was a huge step in the youngsters getting this belief and confidence in themselves. And also, you look at the juniors winning the Junior World Cup. You find there also players have suddenly, confidence beats confidence, success beats success. You got to just keep on going on and on that. And when you have this with you, and then you have a system which is making you fit both mentally and physically, and with the Indian skill, and as also with the Indian defense being organized so well, India's on the right path, if you ask me.
Yeah, and they're certainly rubbing shoulders in the top ranks now. John, coming on to the second game, I mean, that was, as I said, probably one of the finest Olympic finals I've seen in recent years. Exquisite hockey, the advantage switching from one team to the other through the two halves, the drama of a shootout. As director of sport now, with that hat on, how proud are you of the sport and of the teams for putting on a show that just showcased the skill and talent within the sport of hockey?
I'm not sure if pride is the right term, because it's nothing really to do with me, but the ability and the level of the hockey that we've had throughout this tournament on both the men and the women's tournaments, it's been extraordinary, and particularly in the context of so little international hockey really over the last 18 months. The physical level of the athletes now, the skill level, there were times today that I thought they were playing with hockey sticks that must surely be too wide, because just no one was missing a single, every trap was amazing. Every loose ball, every lifted ball in and around the D, which, wasn't bobbling around. They were being sort of trapped and really, really well defended as well as attacked. So yeah, the level of the game is amazing, and the speed of it, the pace of it, despite the fact that many of the games have been played in such high temperatures. It was just so sad that there were no fans in the stadium to appreciate it and to enjoy it, because that would have taken it to another level again, in terms of atmosphere. But no, we couldn't have asked for anything more from the athletes on the pitch, and that's been throughout the whole 2 weeks of both tournaments. As I say, it's been an amazing showcase for our sport.
Yeah, I mean, it was 1-1, and I was about to say only 1-1 because we've had games with so many goals in, but actually it was the most amazingly highly contested match to only have those two goals. Davey, what was your take on the game?
I would think that people would say from the outside, having not witnessed the game, that 1-1, well, the third and fourth playoff game had 9 goals and 5-4, but the final had pretty much everything else that you would expect at a high quality game between the number 1 and number 2 in the world. I think both sides had their opportunities. Both keepers were in form. I think Andrew Charter making a fantastic stick save early on in the first half, and Vinny doing his work late in the second half and into the shootouts. And it was just so even and so equal. And like what John just said is just kind of hitting the nail on the head, because the skill that you would witness during that 60 minutes was some of the highest that I've also ever seen from both sides. The 3D skills, the elimination skills, the speed that those skills are being executed at, how not only just attacking but also the defensive work. The most amount of balls I've seen being picked off midair by the defenders, and just the eye that some of these guys have to put the ball is frightening. So it is. And the way it all went through and to the shootout, and of course coming to such a close tie between decisions being made, goalkeeping wise and obviously player-wise, there's going to ultimately be heroes and unfortunately guys who just come up short in the big occasions. And all credit and fairness to Belgium, it's just the end of the end. I would say that they've literally, their golden generation have achieved everything that they've set out to: European, world, and now Olympic gold medalist. Imagine having that in your CV.
Yeah, and on the back of that, they've just moved up the rankings to world number one as well, just for the icing on the cake.
There you go.
Cedric, watching that game, I mean, the first half was all Belgium, wasn't it? In terms of they had 7 shots to Australia's 1, they were edging it on possession, they obviously scored the goal to take a 1-0 lead. What did Australia do so well in the second half to turn that around? And on the back of that question, why couldn't they put the final nail in the coffin at the towards the end of that second half?
Well, if you just look at the entire match, it was a tactical game, a lot of restriction of space. When the ball was won, the space that they attacked the space was incredible. Both teams, okay? From the first, both goals that was scored were adapting close to the keeper. The first ball, which Obel took that ball, the lift of that ball was brilliant, okay? And then the second one was adapting from a Vanash save and just tipped the ball inside. So it's adapting at the right time with quick hands and quick reflexes. Okay, that was good. The use of the aerials today, again, both teams, especially Belgium, more by Belgium, the use of the aerials over the first line of defense, and then picked up and then attacking the space. The double teaming was incredible. One taking the space, especially the strikers, running back, not going to the ball, running back, putting pressure, reverse pressure or side-on pressure, and the frontal defender taking you on. It's really good just to watch this from a coaching point of view. My God, I was just ecstatic watching this kind of game going on there. The fake space and the interceptions by the Australians, absolutely brilliant. So that's taking the match in perspective of what I saw today. But from the Aussies in the second half, they actually put a lot of pressure by moving up the high press. In the first half, they were not doing a high press. The high press started and they got them rattled a bit. If you look at even the big player, Arthur Van Duren, trying to lift that ball from the circle, my God, I thought he'd given a gift away, in terms of the ball went straight to the Australian player. So I think Australia putting pressure on that ball, okay, came in. They transferred the ball more often from the ball side to the help side and crashed the ball in. And that's how they got that goal, okay? And even Belgium did it, which the goal happened exactly that way. So that for me, it was more pressure on the ball with the Australians in the second half.
Yeah. And then, of course, it went to shootout. And Davey, I've got to ask you, as a goalkeeper, the pressure, both mental and physical, that goalkeepers come under for that period of time. Can you just talk us through that a little bit, please?
How long do we have, Sarah?
When I do that, stop.
Exactly, yeah. It's immense. It really, really is. And of course, before these kind of games, you'll also have your homework done on the shootout takers from the opposition. But those 8 seconds feel like hours at times when you're making your way, scooting around, probably dragging yourself maybe on your backside or on your front or on the side, or trying to make a save with your legs or with your stick or with your head. All the options are endless, but it really does put the goalkeeper under an extreme amount of pressure, and not only just physically but also mentally, and in particular in conditions like that now what they're facing in Japan. I have the utmost respect to do so. 5 shootouts, so close back to back. It does take a lot of time to get yourself back ready after those 8 seconds. You take your water, you get yourself ready to go, the helmet goes back on, and it's showtime once again. And at the end of the day, the goalkeeper has an opportunity to become a hero. And today, Belgium have that hero again at Vincent Van Asch. And unfortunately, Sarah, I'm going to have to slightly correct you from the introduction, but Vincent Van Asch has actually been 3 times world goalkeeper in the FIH. And there's reasons why you see that, of course. That's just the goalkeeper family coming out, don't worry. And all fairness to Andrew Charter as well, he did all he could. But, just the slick routines that the Belgians have practiced over and over again, they came to the fore today. And it was just a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, well, my apologies to Vincent, 3 times FIH Goalkeeper of the Year. I'm going to actually quote something that he said in the post-match interview. He said, "It's just that we train so much. I'm like a musician. It's a rehearsal, and then you come to the concert and it just comes naturally." And that's what it's about, isn't it? You train over and over again. But that still doesn't take away the fact he then had to reset himself at the end for a retake. And, again, mentally, how strong do you have to be for that?
Yeah, it's massive. And the fact that the Belgians also had a busy summer, difficulty getting through the shootouts at the European Championships against their northern neighbours in the Netherlands. And it was kind of a phase where, just speaking about Vinny, that he showed a bit that he was human. A couple of kind of uncharacteristic mistakes allowed the Dutch, towards the final of that championship. But he's come roaring back, excuse the pun, of the Belgian Red Lions. And it was clear to see, of course, just how good the man is. What he said sums it up beautifully. I think it's a beautiful description of what he describes as his training and how he gets himself ready for that big occasion as he's just ready to perform in front of that audience. It's just a pity, as John did also say, that there wasn't a crowd to witness that today. And for goalkeepers all around the world to watch it throughout the tournament on both the men's and ladies' side, the quality and the level is ever increasing, but it also has to, because given the nature of the speed, the skills that are also being created and even further developed by field players, it's not that we're playing catch up, but you're also having to respond to what you're facing now in front of you. And like it was mentioned, all the different teams had different styles, coming from different continents, and it was fabulous to watch throughout the whole Olympics. I'll be very sad now that it's over, of course.
Yep. What will we be doing?
Yeah.
John, just going to the shootout for a moment. I think we also have to spare a thought for the officials, because it's also very tense for them, isn't it? So I just wondered, first of all, what do officials, this is for the viewers who perhaps are new to hockey, what role do they take during that shootout?
Well, I mean, obviously you've got, there's a whole team of officials involved, from those who are timing through to the 3 umpires that you have around the D, making sure that any foul is picked up, or whether the ball did cross the line or not, whether it did before the end of the 8 seconds or not. So yeah, there's 3 technical officials, there's 3 umpires actually directly involved. So yeah, it's a big kind of teamwork. And there were rehearsals going on at the end of the pool stages when shootouts could then start as we got into the quarterfinals, so that everyone was very clear on how everything was going to work. But I mean, just like the athletes, we've had 28 umpires here. We've had a further 35 technical officials, and all of these guys have had to train and prepare just like the athletes have all around the world, all during lockdowns in very challenging circumstances. They've all had to do their fitness and submit their fitness tests and prove that they're ready. The Europeans were lucky because they got some hockey to umpire at the European Championships, but there are many officials from around the world who've had to be finding other ways to prepare. And then, I mean, even getting them all here, from different parts of the world was a real challenge. So yeah, I mean, hats off to them. They all volunteer. They've all taken holiday, some of them unpaid holiday from their working lives. Some of them are having to go back and spend 2 weeks in another hotel back in their home country, particularly in Australia and New Zealand, because those are the rules. And these are the best of the volunteers around the world, without which we couldn't all play the game that we all love playing. So yeah, it's been a real learning for me to move from playing side into the administration side, and to see and to spend time with these officials who are as equally as committed as the athletes are, and certainly don't get anything like the level of recognition, and rightly so. They want to be in the background because the spotlight should be on the athletes. But make no mistake, they all prepare meticulously, and they're all incredibly proud to be representing their countries, their hockey families when they come to Olympic Games.
And in their own way, they are Olympians too, aren't they? They've performed on the Olympic stage, which is great. Thank you. Cedric, just coming back to the end of the match, you saw Shane McLeod's reaction at the end. He was in floods of tears, obviously very emotional. Can you sum up the job that him and his team have done for Belgium in the last sort of 8 years since London?
It'll take me a couple of hours, just not a couple of minutes.
Okay, again, when I go like that, stop.
I think if you just look at them, the most important thing is, when I've spoken to some of the Belgian players, is the fact that he's kept this as a family, really kept them tight-knit as a family. And he's open to suggestion, he's open to talk with them. And that's been the critical part, where he's accessible all the time. Okay, they have a great quality of players. They have a good structure. The team has really played well. Okay, and the way they have done it in the Europeans, first they won the World Cup, and it was okay. The next was to get the Euros, and then to get the Olympic medal. That was their target. And for him to have emoted, it's not like Sean. But to have noted was a lovely thing to see from one coach to another. I love that scene for him, and the hug between Vincent Monash and him was absolutely brilliant. So he's done a fantastic job for Belgium for all the years that he's put in. And I think, will they take this on further? Yes. Having said that, yes. Just to recap on this last day of play, I would just say that if you look at the rank, if you just look at the points that happened in the pool matches, Belgium was number one with 13 points, and so was Australia, but the goal difference was Belgium number one, okay, Australia number two, and India was 12 points. So all three have come 1, 2, 3 in the ranking of the gold and silver and bronze medal. And for Indian viewers, I would just say they played 7 matches and they lost just once.
Yeah,
which is fantastic for them.
Yeah, fantastic. And just sort of sticking on the idea of Shane, but also the other coaches and their work with the teams. I mean, we could spend a whole hour talking about this, but I'll just talk to you very, very briefly about it. These days, more perhaps than 10, 20, 30 years ago, it's about more than just putting a team of players on a pitch and asking them to perform. There's more about it, isn't there? There's a culture, and as you say, for some teams there's a family feel. For others, they encourage a different way of building that culture. I mean, the Spanish women famously had their values on the back of their dugout before each match. Again, members of the Belgian men's team have spoken about how during lockdown they were encouraged to learn new skills, and that's the same with the Dutch women as well. In many ways, I know we've said that lockdown has been dreadful in so many ways, but it has allowed the coaches to get to know their players that little bit better in some circumstances and to build a culture. How important is that for a team, Cedric, do you think?
Very, very important, because you've just said the word, it's team. And the team is also the coaching staff as well as the players right through. So if you get to know the player better and he gets to know you better, the communication channels become even better. So from that aspect, the most important thing is team camaraderie, team oneness, and team togetherness, and how you can bounce off each other and help each other in the entire aspects of the game. So it's not only Sean, I think everybody who has had the opportunity during COVID has grabbed it in terms of being able to communicate via social media. That's the only way, or through media, and making sure that the players are still very united and still very in a group within the team. India was fortunate that they kept at it in terms of the camps. And even there, Graham Reid was doing a lot of stuff with the players in terms of one-on-ones with them, and the players talking about themselves, talking to the entire team, which is not an Indian player's psyche, to open up and talk about his whole family life. And that's how he got this team to get together.
Brilliant. We come to the end of the show. So what I'd like you three guys to do, as it's your last appearance today, is just tell me your moments of the game and your 2 or 3 players who've really, really made an impression on you. John, I'll come to you first. What's been sort of, it doesn't even need to be on the pitch, but a moment of the game for you?
I think seeing South Africa beating Germany and the elation after the match from that whole South African team. I mean, that was just a very, very, very special moment. And yeah, they had to pretty much self-fund themselves to get out here. All the difficulties that they've had to put a performance together was just amazing. And some of their young forwards were superb and scored some great goals. And actually talking to them afterwards, they took a lot of confidence from their match before that when they played Belgium. They actually lost heavily 9-4, but they took a lot of confidence out of scoring 4 goals against Belgium, and they took that into the Germany game and then beat Germany. So yeah, that was a real highlight for me. And I mean, in terms of players, I mean, just today, well, throughout the whole tournament, the power that Alexander Hendricks creates in his corners is just insane. And hats off to the Aussies today for keeping him from scoring, because no one else has managed to do that. I think he scored 14 goals in 7 games before today. So he's been amazing. And then we've mentioned him already, but it's really boring to say it because he's obviously such a superstar. But Arthur van Doren was just ridiculously good today. So calm under pressure, so calm with the ball until he nearly gave a pass straight to the Aussie. But other than that, he was fantastic. No, it's been a special tournament.
Yeah, it has. Cedric, would you have fancied facing Alexander Hendricks in your heyday as a goalkeeper?
Well, if I had a complete sheet of armor in front of me, yes, definitely. With what we had, no chance in hell. Everything is plastic here. I would have had no plastic at all in my room. But just to take away what you just said was, I think India versus Australia ladies was a fantastic game to have won that match. They showed a lot of character in terms of that. And when you look at Hendricks scoring goals for the men, I always look at it. Yes, we look at the goal scorers, but we also must look at the players who have held back and held the citadel and not given goals. And what was the strength for me? It was basically there were two guys in the Indian team who are really unsung heroes. One is Amit Rohidas, who runs a fantastic first line. And the second was Simranjeet Singh, who is not in the team at all. He was the 17th, 18th player who came in and then played a blind of a tournament. So these two guys have been surprised in terms of showing what they were.
Brilliant. Davey, my question to you. Moment of the game and players of the tournament. Hello, Davey. I think he's still thinking about it. Earth to Davey? No. Okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for listening in and thank you for being with us through these shows. We have one more day of action. We've got the women's bronze medal match and finals tomorrow. My huge thanks to my guests today, who I think have given some great insight and analysis of the games. And thank you for being guests throughout the show. So thank you very much to John.
No problem. Thanks, Sarah. It's been great.
My thanks to Cedric.
Thank you, young Sarah. As Grampy said.
As Grampy said. And a big thank you to Davey, who seems to be stuck on the screen, but we'll pass our thanks on to him anyway. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.